Hello and welcome back to part one of the Raymer review for the movie Out of Time. So, I want to first start off by saying I ain't gonna go over what I went over in my last video. Go to the community post and watch that one because that's the only place you're going to be able to see the intro to this video. Go watch it. Now, we're starting with the movie Out of Time. Some of your God ordained spouses, the ones that are being rebellious, they out of time. They have been in the midst of being warned by the Lord. You need to do this. This is what needs to happen. But they have not been listening. And they've been thinking they could keep doing what they were doing because they know that you're their spouse, that, yeah, you're their wife, but they want to go and do what they want to do. It's almost like that guy that's married but likes having the side chick. But you been praying. This is for that married woman that was married to this man and has been told, I need you to stand for this man because he's going to come back. But you were supposed to stand for him. But we gonna get into this. Number one, the movie starts off with Denzel Washington's character. Chief Whitlock gets a phone call. And it sounds like this woman in distress. He goes over to her house. And just like any cop, he's inspecting the grounds. Your God-ordained spouse is spiritually aware. He's an investigative person spiritually. He don't just jump off and do anything. He investigates, he observes, he does all of the things that he's supposed to do because he's what? A spiritual cop. And for some of you, they have a spiritual commander authority. You know how there is a commander in the chief of police type thing? There's a commander. Yeah. So they don't miss things too much. If they missing things, that's on them choosing to do so. So he gets to the house and he's checking out the area around, looking at the bushes, checking and looking. He comes in and sees that the door is open, and he's like, and naturally you're thinking, oh, something must have happened because the door's wide open. Why is the door open? And he comes and he looks around and he checking and he looks around the living room. He checks around to see if anything's going on. Then he goes in the back room, and that's when he finds the woman, only to come to find out this was not one of those cases. This was, she called him and that's their thing, meaning she will call in order to be like a 911 case, only to get him so that they can have their rendezvous. Some of your God-ordained spouses, they got hooked up with a counterfeit that's been paging them 911. Coming up with an intimidating reason to make them come to their rescue. Pause. I did a word a while back on kingdom marriages. I talked about the counterfeits in that it was a 4-part segment. It was either 4 or 2-part segment in the kingdom marriages in our God ordained words. It's also in Rhema movies and TV that I I talk about that counterfeit. Your God ordained spouse has this thing where they like to be the savior of the scenario. So they may actually fall for the person because of the fact that to them, if that person makes them feel macho bravado because they get to come in and save the day because that's their game. That's their back and forth little what have you. But it was literally a lure for the counterfeit to get your God ordained spouse to come to them by using their kindness for weakness. Okay? So that we understand that. Next, they finish their little game, blah, blah, blah. The next day, he's at the cafe getting breakfast or something like that. And you see Dean Cain's character, he comes in and people are like, hey, how you doing, Chris? And everybody's loving this guy because he's like the local football player dude. And he's like in his heyday, meaning he just either quit or something like that. But he's like an ex-football player. But the people in the community still like him. But because he knows him, they got this animosity towards each other. The chief and this guy, this football player. Come to find out when he comes over and sits next to him, it got this thing like, I know that you know that I know type scenario. Some of your God ordained spouses got hooked up in a relationship with somebody that was a three-way tie, meaning they got hooked up with the woman and there was a man still in the picture. God, you want me to say that? Anybody remember the song Bad Habits? But watch the video particularly. It was the video. You don't have to watch the video, but you understand what I'm saying. And I'm talking about, there's a couple different versions of Bad Habits by different people, but I'm talking about the one that was done by Maxwell. That one talks about two people that are in a relationship that can't get enough of each other, but they both got other partners. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, now that we've made that point clear. So these two know that what's going on between, they sleeping with the same woman, basically. But this other guy that is not the chief is the actual woman's husband. Okay? And they got this little jabby thing. You know how men testosterone conversation is. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? What's up? Uh-huh. Right. It's like, you know what that is. I don't have to say. He's like, how you doing? You doing good? You and your wife doing good? Everything all right? Yeah, I'm all right. Are you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. You know what that is. Anyway, his partner, who also works at the police department, they end up going for drinks that night. Then he gets another call from her, but this time Chris is there at the house. And when he gets the call from her, they arguing because of the fact that he done hit her and he's trying to break up the domestic violence dispute between him and the wife. So we thinking, oh, so that's why they got involved with each other. She getting abused. Your God ordained spouse probably got pulled into something. Y'all that know. Your goddamn spouse got pulled into something. Some of y'all, you didn't know what the thing was that they got pulled into, but you knew they got hooked up into something, but they didn't want to tell you. They didn't want to tell you because they don't want you all involved in it. But they got their own little thing going on that you ain't got no knowledge of or understanding because y'all separated, right? But because, come on now, we God ordained wife. Because we the God ordained wife, what does that mean? That means God done already shown us because we already been praying about it. Duh. A person that you should probably look at if you're standing. Actually, I'll give you two. If you're standing for a kingdom marriage for a prodigal that left your marriage, look up Kemi from is it I Am Kemi? Or I don't have to look the name up exactly. But if you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. But I'll look it up and see if I can put the names of the two people in the video when I'm done. Then Prophet Parham. She goes on to Prophet Productions, I believe it is. Both of them went through a scenario where the husband completely left the marriage and then came back. So, he's trying to decipher this situation, and they were arguing about the insurance policy when he got there, and he didn't know at the time about any of what was going on about that, but he came to break up the incident, calmed it down, and he left. He comes and finds out later. She comes to visit him. He said, "Everything good with you?" I believe they sleep together. And then she tells him after they have their little rendezvous that she needs to go to this specialist. And she wants him to go with her to this particular appointment. And he says, "Sure, I'll come with you." So when they go to the appointment, finds out that she's got leukemia or some type of weird cancerous illness, that she needs to go do this experimental treatment over in Sweden, Russia, someplace overseas, that she would need to be able to pay for the treatment to be done. Let me just put it to you this way. Some of the counterfeits that have been in your ordained spouse's life, they saw the opportunity to use them for what they have access to. Not that they needed it, but because they wanted to extort them for it. Okay? What I'm going to tell you, I need you to look up. What's her name? Poetic Prophet. It's either Prophet and Poetry. Yeah, it's Prophet and Poetry. And she did a video called Black Widow and something. But if you look up Prophet Poetry Black Widow, the video will come up. And in it, she does a detailed breakdown of how these women act that are trying to set these men up for stuff. Hey, I don't know your situation. This ain't for everybody, but I would suggest if the video's for you, then you need to sit down and you need to pray about it, okay? Even before you go and look for that video. But I'm going to tell you, that's what it is. Meaning, that's something that you may need to look into, because that's what this scenario is. A woman that is in the midst of a setup, okay? They a counterfeit and they playing a setup game. Okay? Because they know that they can get it from that man. So what ends up happening? She ends up coming back and telling him that she changed her insurance policy to his name, the chief of police's name, and he was like, I don't know if I can take that. And she said, I want you to have it. If anything happens, I need you to just take it. It's for me. It's a gift. So automatically he's in this mode of, oh, I can't. And she's like, please, I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know how long I'm going to live, blah, blah, blah. And he said, don't worry about it. So he goes back to the office. Now, he had done a drug bust recently. Now, this case is brand new. And because the case is brand new, he knows how chain of command works. Because of how chain of command works, they don't check evidence for a period of time. Then once they do check evidence, it gets caught up in processing, moved over to here, transferred to this location, this, that, and the other, but it has to stay with the arresting officer until XYZ. And he said that thing will get caught up in probate for about 3 years. And he's like, by then you can have done what you need done, and we can work everything else out. Don't worry about it. So he goes and takes the money and gives it to her and says, look, just take the money, pay for whatever you need to pay for, take it, get whatever it needs to be done, and you know what, I'm gonna go with you because I don't want you to go through this by yourself. And she says, really? Oh my God. And they hug and kiss and all this kind of stuff, and you literally think this is legit. She really, he's like, I'll meet you at your place tonight in the middle of the night. Now, he done gave her the money. She took it, and comes 10 o'clock, he goes to the bar. His buddy's there. He tells his buddy, I'm leaving. He go back to his place. He waiting. And then the buddy shows up at his house and he's like, what are you doing here? It's like 11 o'clock. He's like, what you doing here? He's like, my wife kicked me out because I came in drunk. And then his buddy want to talk. And he's like, I don't want to talk to you tonight now. I ain't got time for it. He's like, but I can't go back to the bar. He's like, I will pay. Here's the money. Go back to the bar. I need you to go back to the bar. And it's like, tell them that I told them they can keep serving you. Go back to the bar. He's like, but really, I think, and shuts the door in his face. He's like, God. And he's still waiting. Time passes. 11 o'clock passes. 12 o'clock passes. I think he lay down on the couch and he goes and checks. At about 1 o'clock, he drives over there and he don't see no movement. He don't see nobody in the house. But he did see the next door neighbor, which is an old woman wearing glasses, trying to peep out the window while he was over there inspecting, trying to see what was going on, because he didn't see her. So he goes and gets back in his car, tries not to get seen. Goes back, falls asleep on the couch. He gets woke up by fire alarm sirens. And I'm hearing right now, fire is not a false alarm. A lot of us have been hearing sirens recently. Sirens in relation to marriage, sirens in relation to anything in relation to marriage, sirens. I can't tell you how many people that the Lord has led me to follow confirm that subsequently each and every single one of them have confirmed that they've been getting the sirens and they've been getting it around marriage. And this is the marriage season. They've been seeing the numbers. Everything's coming into alignment. It's about to go down. Back to the point of this message. So he goes and he checks. He gets the call. Now the sun has completely come up and he's standing there in front of the house that he was there a few hours ago. That house done burnt down. And he's standing there confused, like, the house burnt down. And he's mentally and emotionally like, oh my God, they did. Oh my God, the money. Oh my God, where the money at? Oh my God. He's mentally processing it, but he got to act chill because he's the main detective on this case. Some of y'all God-ordained spouses are spiritually have been in a mental headspace over something that they did with somebody or in cahoots with the counterfeit that they were with that could have gotten them in a whole lot of trouble. They know what that is. And some of y'all know what that is because you've been praying in the spirit and God done shown you what that thing is. And there goes his wife. Here comes this Spanish woman, beautiful Spanish woman. It's like, so, Chief Whitlock. And he says, and he calls her by her name. And this is when you find out, because she said, I mailed you the divorce papers. And he said, I know, I understand, I got that taken care of. We're going to get that squared away. Some of you, they've been going through some stuff, but they're not the one. Some cases, and God did this on purpose. God told y'all to file the divorce papers. You were supposed to let them go. You filed. It's so interesting. I was looking last night at Candace Owens, and she said that when it comes down to educated women, that the women themselves are the ones that actually go through the process of filing the divorce papers. It's not the men in most cases, especially highly educated women. So she filed the divorce papers and were like, are you going to handle the rest of it? He's like, I got it. Yeah, I got it. Some of y'all, and you know this, your husband, when you wanted to separate from them, dragged their feet on filing the paperwork for your divorce. They wouldn't do it. They would not come into agreement with the fact that y'all needed to get the divorce. And you knew that was the reason that showed that there was still something there. But they trying to act ornery and do what they want to do without filing a divorce fully and completely with y'all. But you divorced them because God told you to. Because they needed to see that you were serious. So, she comes up and she says, okay, it looks like it's going to be you and me on this case because IAB or whoever, one of them, the departments, internal affairs, what have you, sent her as part of the case. And she's like, are you okay with me heading this up, especially with the fact of what we got going on between us? You are an investigator in the spirit. God has given you the eyes to see, ears to hear, and spiritual wisdom and understanding that you are a investigator in the spirit, okay? And because you're an investigator in the spirit, you can see the detailed forensic evidence of what's going on. This man is your partner. This is your God ordained spouse. When y'all work together, it's like he's your eyes and ears, you're his eyes and ears. When you're together, y'all commiserate and work together in tandem. But because he's not with you, it's altering. But because you're spiritually married, still, you can still investigate in the spirit what's going on. So what happens next is they got to check out, I believe, the first location. Because the bodies were taken from the house. They were charged beyond ability to identify them. But then they had to go back and find out, okay, what do we know about the woman, the husband, so on and so forth. So they needed to go to where she worked. And they asked her friend at the dentistry job. She worked in dentistry. Catch that. She worked in dentistry. And the friend was like, "Oh yeah, she never really seemed too happy when it came down to her and her husband, but she definitely was talking to somebody because they kept sending her flowers. She would always get flowers, and she was like enamored with this person that was sending her flowers." And what he does, because he knew he was the one that sent it, and she said, well, he asked, well, where did she get the flowers from? Because that's what the wife is asking, like, where the flowers come from? We, as the kingdom wives, have a tendency, we gonna go in the spirit, and we gonna ask the question, where is it? Where did it come from? What's going on? How's this happening? We badger God about these things in relation to our God ordained spouse, so we know what to pray for. Because what? The Power of a Praying Wife. If you ain't reading that book, start reading it. If you're standing for your marriage, I don't know why you're not reading that book. The Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy Orman, I think it is. I'm not sure, but look it up. We go in the spirit and we start dissecting. We the spiritual investigators. We spiritually, it's like, what we got to pray for, Jesus? So she's asking about these roses. Rosies, where's Rosies? And he's like, oh, Rosies. He's like, okay, let me see if I can. So he gets up and he's like, let me see if I can look that up. And he's act like he called 411 and then call. It's like, hey, Rosie, how you doing? What's up? This is Detective Chief Whitlock. I know. Hey, how you doing? I wanted to find out where those flowers came from. For a particular person that has been receiving flowers, and he names the woman, and he's like, yeah, huh? Oh, her husband sent them. Okay, and then his wife is standing there like, oh, the husband sent, and then they're like, oh, okay. But he puts the phone down, and when he puts the phone down, you realize he ain't called nobody. That was 411. It's like, if you would like to make a call. He lied. You got a nice spouse. They the type that they will cover it up, especially when they going through something. They got the charm. They got the ability. They got that thing. Ain't nobody gonna know anything going on with them because they got that I turn on when you ready. But ain't nobody gonna find out what's going on in my personal. Except for you. You're the wife. You know. Because you know them. So he's gonna be, yeah, all right. And he's like, okay. And when they're leaving out, he ends up showing the tracker, because he has a tracker that he has had all of the department members had to get one for tracking each of the individuals on this little. It's a little device, you know, them old devices. It kind of look like a what is it? It's not a cell phone, but it's similar to what a small cell phone look like, but it's a gadget, and it's literally a map that tracks. And he's like, all of my detectives are on this, and he's telling her all this type of stuff. Now, one might say, why was that detail important? It's important for what is being done and or shown. Sorry, y'all, about the lighting. I'm losing lighting quicker than I thought I was going to be able to. So my face is getting darker. But yeah. And he shows her the tracker. Your God ordained spouse. You can track your God ordained spouse in the spirit. That ain't no big deal. This is the thing. You can track them. They don't realize that you can track them. They don't realize how much you know. If you go back, I did a review on the episode called Amends. It's called Amends. It's that one, and it's another one in the middle of the Kingdom Marriage series that I did, where I talk about specifically the woman has the wisdom and the assistance to be able to pray cover the man, even if he does not know that she already has the wisdom and understanding of what's going on, even if she doesn't have the details of what he's going through, because God's already given her that wisdom. Now, as this begins, the process has started, and I'm going to start the next video where I go a little bit deeper and I find my place to give you that next bit of information, and we'll see how far we get. All right, till next time, bye bye.